Have you ever finished a seemingly ordinary day feeling completely exhausted, as if you'd run a marathon or worked non-stop, yet you barely did anything at all? Maybe you didn't face a crisis, you weren't overwhelmed by tasks, and your physical activities were minimal. Yet when you finally sit down, a heaviness settles in, a profound tiredness that sleep alone cannot fix. Your mind feels foggy, your emotions numb, and every tiny action feels monumental. This invisible fatigue is known as silent burnout. It's subtle, quiet, and often misunderstood. Unlike typical burnout, which comes from an overload of work or visible stress, silent burnout creeps in through the unnoticed gaps of emotional strain, suppressed feelings, and internal tension. You're not failing, lazy, or broken. You're emotionally depleted from holding everything together for far too long without relief. From the outside, everything appears normal. You still smile, answer messages, and complete simple tasks. But internally, you're merely existing, pushing forward mechanically. You cancel social events, not because you don't want company, but because even small talk feels draining. You avoid interactions, not due to disinterest, but due to the immense energy required to pretend that you're fine. Each day feels like you're wading through water, your energy diminishing quietly, unseen by anyone else. And as days turn into weeks, the question grows louder in your mind: why am I so tired when I'm not even doing much? Yet this exhaustion isn't physical, it's deeply emotional. Silent burnout doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly, piece by invisible piece, until it becomes the background noise of your life. Your mind never rests, even when your body appears still. You're constantly replaying past conversations, analyzing every decision, and worrying about things that haven't happened yet. Internally, you're in perpetual motion, trapped in cycles of emotional exhaustion without an exit in sight. Perhaps you've always been the strong one, the reliable friend, the dependable family member. You carry not only your own burdens, but also the emotional loads of others. People lean on you because you're always fine. They rarely notice when you're quietly sinking beneath the surface because you are so good at hiding your struggles behind a composed facade. Yet the longer you hide, the heavier your internal world becomes. Feelings of loneliness, inadequacy, and quiet desperation grow silently within you. You might not be sad enough to cry or angry enough to shout, but you feel a constant emotional numbness. It's as if your capacity to feel joy, excitement, or even mild contentment has evaporated. You lose interest in activities you once loved, not because they've lost their meaning, but because you lack the energy or emotional presence to enjoy them. Everything feels like a chore, even simple tasks like answering an email, returning a phone call, or deciding what to eat for dinner. You find yourself staring at your phone or the ceiling, frozen by indecision and mental fatigue. And then comes the guilt. Guilt for not doing more, guilt for canceling plans, guilt for needing space. You start questioning your own worth based on your productivity. You think, if I didn't accomplish anything today, did I even deserve to rest? This kind of inner dialogue isn't just unkind, it's destructive. It pushes you further into the shadows of emotional depletion. You might find yourself scrolling endlessly on your phone, not because you're entertained, but because your mind is seeking a temporary escape from itself. You use distraction as a coping mechanism, filling silence with noise, avoiding eye contact with your own emotions. And yet, no amount of scrolling, binge-watching, or sleeping in seems to refill your inner tank. Even sleep becomes difficult. You lie in bed tired, but your thoughts are still buzzing. Regret, self-doubt, overthinking. You drift between sleep and wakefulness, and when morning arrives, you feel even more tired than the night before. It's a cycle of rest without restoration, and it quietly chips away at your well-being. You stop reaching out, not because you don't need support, but because explaining how you feel seems impossible. You're afraid people won't understand, or worse, that they'll dismiss it. And so, you retreat. You isolate. You build walls, hoping that by shielding yourself from the world, you'll somehow protect what little energy you have left. But silence doesn't heal burnout. It deepens it. Healing begins with honesty, with admitting to yourself that something isn't right. It's not weakness to say, "I'm not okay." In fact, that might be the bravest thing you've done in a long time. Because acknowledging your emotional exhaustion gives you the permission to begin taking care of yourself. The truth is, you don't need to earn rest. You don't need to justify your need for peace. Rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Just as your body requires sleep, your soul requires stillness. Not the kind of forced stillness where you lie in bed overwhelmed by racing thoughts, but intentional, compassionate stillness. A pause that allows you to reconnect with yourself. Begin small. Choose one thing each day that supports your healing. Maybe it's going for a slow walk. Maybe it's journaling your feelings without judgment. Maybe it's turning off notifications for a few hours to reclaim your mental space. These aren't huge gestures. They were tiny acts of rebellion against the burnout culture that tells you you're only valuable when you're reproductive. Rebuilding from silent burnout requires patience. You can't rush healing. It's not a task you check off your list. It's a relationship with yourself that you slowly repair day by day. And some days progress means simply surviving. Some days it means doing absolutely nothing and being okay with that. You start to rediscover pieces of yourself in quiet moments. A familiar song that makes you feel something. A warm drink that brings brief comfort. A sunrise that reminds you of beauty. These glimpses of life, however fleeting, are signs that your spirit still remembers how to feel. Healing is not about returning to who you were. It's about becoming someone gentler, wiser, and more aligned with your inner truth. Comparison is your enemy during this journey. You might see others thriving, posting accomplishments, chasing goals. But you're not behind. You're on a different road, one that prioritizes recovery over performance, one that values being over doing, one where your worth is measured not by what you achieve, but by how kindly you care for yourself. Some days will feel empty, and that's okay. Emotional exhaustion doesn't vanish overnight. Like a muscle torn from overuse, it takes time to rebuild strength. But with every act of self-kindness, you send your nervous system a signal. You're safe now. You don't have to fight so hard anymore. You begin to say no, not out of guilt but out of self-respect. You set boundaries, not to push people away, but to protect your peace. You choose rest, not as a way to escape life, but as a way to reconnect with it. These are not signs of weakness. They are the beginning of emotional resilience. And through it all you realize something profound. Your exhaustion was never about laziness. It was a signal, a cry from within that something needed to change. You were never meant to live in constant survival mode. You were never meant to pour from an empty cup. You were never meant to carry everyone else's weight while neglecting your own soul. You begin to rewrite your story. One where rest is honored, emotions are expressed, and your needs are not ignored. You stop apologizing for needing space. You stop shaming yourself for feeling overwhelmed. You understand now that emotional health is not optional, it's essential. So here you are, still breathing, still trying, still rising, and that is enough. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be healed by tomorrow. You just need to keep choosing yourself in small, honest ways, every single day, because healing is not a destination, it's a daily choice, a quiet revolution. And as you honor your need for rest, for peace, for truth, you are no longer just surviving. You are beginning to live, and that is something worth celebrating. Take this as your sign. You are allowed to pause, you are allowed to feel, you are allowed to begin again.